All right. So every single week, we are sitting with 3 or 4 different groups of high six only. That does not count the special chairman's club that's above high six that I do. These high six calls, oftentimes we'll ask one question and they'll just go off on a tangent, or we'll ask one script question or do one role play, and the whole thing goes off on a tangent. And this particular week, Brian O'Neill, high six and coach, high six member and coach, and chairman's member, chairman's club, said, look, I got a couple thoughts on script. And for these 15 minutes or so, I think there's some 1, 2, or 3 nuggets that you can pull and literally put into place on your calls today or tomorrow. So enjoy the clip. This is a private look behind the curtain on a high six mini mastermind call.
I want to bring up, I'll spend like 3 minutes on scripts, because this is what I'm hearing. And I think this is a huge bottleneck for the community and for the VAs, because I'm listening to VA calls and student calls. All right. And my latest my latest thing that I've observed is we're way too focused on solving the seller's price problem. Okay, we're way too focused on price, especially with sellers who have no motivation, right? So I forget who I was talking to yesterday, but I was critiquing a call and I just said to them, why, when, where? Why, when, where? Like, ask why they're selling. And then when they do sell, where are they going? Like, you have to you have to understand if the seller's going to move or not. Like, where are you going? When are you going to go there by? When do you need to go there by? I know we talk about this all the time. And what are you going to do if you don't sell your house? Are you going to move back in? Like, you need to understand what they're going to do before you start talking about pricing, because I think a lot of people are wasting time. Just make me an offer, make me an offer. Mm. So we just need to have a full understanding of what their situation is and what are you going to do, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if you don't get the outcome that you want, which is selling the house. What are you going to do? You're going to move back? Because they're going to move back in. There's no reason. There's nothing you could say to them that's going to convince them to move. They're just going to move back into the house. But if they need to go somewhere, then you have something. So I think establishing that super early in the call is going to allow us to be way more efficient and to talk to the right people. Because talking to the people who just want, $500,000 for their house that's on the market for $480 because it's owner financing, that's not a motivated seller. That's not our seller. We need to find the person who's going to do something like Pete's guy. Like, he's leaving the country. He's going to South Korea. The guy's screwed. He's got to sell the house to us. He can't sell it. He's not going to move back in. That's who we need to talk to.
Guys, got any thoughts or questions on that? Because that's like, it's easily said, not as easy to do, or everybody be doing it.
Mm-hmm. It seems like.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kyle.
Oh, it just seems like too, it takes a while to find those people too. You just have to go through calls and whatnot. I don't know. Do you guys feel the same?
Numbers.
For sure.
I'll say an old thing. You are to your point, Kyle, you're a professional spaghetti strainer, and you're just looking for some spaghetti to stay in the pot. The rest of them are slipping through the cracks. Gotcha. You're just looking. You're the person serving coffee, right? You're just looking for someone at the restaurant that wants coffee. They all don't want freaking coffee. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's why you move quick. That's why you don't research calls. That's why you don't that's why you just move. Brian, I hope this doesn't mess up the mojo here, but that made me think of, as I get my nightly texts, right? I almost always react, why Join do that many dials in my head? When someone says I did 40 dials, I did 30 dials, I did 10 dials, I almost always go, is that all you did? What did you do the rest of the time? Because you can do 28 to 38, give or take, in a 50-minute sprint. So I always go with that. And is that matching if your needle mover is, I'm going to really hammer this with the chairman's group because I expect records to be broken. But if your goal is to get to XYZ by Summit in March, we're 5 months away from that, 5.5 almost. And we got to be very focused with how much time we're spending on the phone. It's not a long sprint. So I guess that was just for everybody to think about how much time you're spending on the phone. And if you're spending that much time on the phone and you're still not getting the dials, then you're letting shit interrupt you. Would you agree, Brian? Something's going on there.
1,000,000%. Yep.
I don't want to be
That-
preaching that. Do you guys have questions on that?
That's just, yeah, I do. So I can see that for new people, like, just calling new people on the list. But in terms of following up, like I've tried to speed up my process, and then I call people and I don't know what I talked to them about the last time. So like I feel like I have to, I have to, and then I'm doing 15 calls an hour.
Okay, this is good. So I have two comments and see if Brian does it differently now. I don't know if he does. Two comments would be on that. Paul, one question, one comment. One comment is when I say a 50-minute outgoing, I'm doing outgoing only or VA sheets.
Yeah.
I'm not doing follow-up
Okay.
personally. Then I have a
Okay.
separate time slot for follow-up. It might be 20 minutes. Now, me personally, I used to like doing the follow-up first because it warmed me up. That's all. That's just me. It got me warm. Zach does the opposite. He likes doing the follow-up last. It would warm me up, get me going. I wouldn't be afraid to stop making calls. So I guess my question is, you were talking about just follow-up, right? Because you obviously, if you said you had to remember. Yeah. Okay. Legit, but make a separate time slot. Brian, do you agree or no? Do you do it differently?
No, I do. So I don't do any call number ones anymore, but when I did, it was always separate. Like I didn't mix them up. Like I was just outgoing and then follow-ups.
Right.
Now I do follow-ups. So I have two, like as an example, I have two blocks in my calendar for 50-minute sessions on Monday. And then at the end of the day, I take all my notes, like as I'm writing my notes on the lead sheet, which is what you should be doing. And then I insert all the notes and send out all the emails later in the night.
After. Yep.
Not while. I think that's what a lot of the students are probably doing, that they're sending the emails out right away or inserting the notes. You do all that later. Just boom, boom, boom. Go right down the list. Get to
Oh yeah, you don't have to pick up the phone. Oh, I get to do an email. I talk to someone, and it takes 10 minutes.
Yeah. Right.
Nope.
So when you're having a conversation with a seller and you're jotting down notes as you're conversing, and you and then you have a follow-up, like sending an email or a text or something to them, do you let them know that you'd be sending that information out later then when you in a different block of time?
Yeah. Later.
End of the day.
Tomorrow. They'll get it eventually. It just depends on the level of motivation too, right? Like the ones who are on the fence, I'm not going to be rushing to send them stuff out.
Brian, doesn't it also depend on how we set the expectation? You just said it nonchalantly, but like I do my emails at the end of the day, or I do my emails tomorrow morning. Just tell them when you're doing.
Yeah.
So they won't hang up going, Pete just told me he'd send it. What an idiot. No, he told me he'd send it tonight. It's okay. We got to communicate this shit. And if we do, our communication will go so much down and people will be happier.
I guess that's part of setting expectations, like you said. So
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. What else? I'll give you guys an example on that. I'll be on the tail end of that. I was a receiver of this bad communication. So Kim's trying to get a job done at her mother's. Kayla says, call this guy. Now Kim's livid because, like me, she's like, well, I'm trying to schedule this shit and the guy's not calling back. Well, we find out he's got all this stuff going on. His mom's sick, his dad had a stroke. Okay, we didn't know this. So now we're prejudging this poor guy. All you gotta say is, I got a bunch of challenges going on. I can't get to you guys for a week. Great. Sorry to hear that. Now I have patience. I know it's extreme, but that's health. But just communicate.
And don't assume.
Yeah.
I learned a big lesson in not assuming yesterday. So
yesterday, share it then.
Okay, so I talked to this guy. His name's Aramis. His home is he owes 420,000. It's worth 420,000. And we were kind of going back and forth, and interested in did the script and all that stuff. And I would call him, and he would just hang up. And and I would text him back and why do you keep hanging up? And he said, oh, it doesn't sound like you can get the job done. And then actually, so that was before I did the math and ran looked at the comps and figured out that the house is worth what he owes. Then I texted him back and say, hey, it looks like your house is worth what you owe. Maybe I can help. And then he was super happy. Then he's like, calling me buddy and all this kind of stuff. And we're on the phone last night, and click, like I got disconnected. I mentioned, yeah, well, he said, or let's see, I was asking him like, you know, why, what would he do if he doesn't sell? And he said, I don't know, maybe I'll just rent. Why do you ask? And I said, well, listen, I'm an estate planning attorney. I'm just trying to solve problems. Click. Like, what the? And and then so I looked at this text. He actually, I guess he got in an elevator. So that was one time when it was just you know, just a honest thing or whatever. But so I'm not sure. I'm going to call him today and just see exactly what's going on with him.
All right.
Like
I get
said,
your point. I get your point on the assumption. Let me jump in yet. I don't want everybody's opinion on this, but I get your point on the assumption piece. Point well taken. But if a guy or gal is communicating with me like that, there's got to be a discussion. There's not going to be more discussion like that. I can't keep getting hung up on.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys feel about this?
Well, the last time it was just he got in an elevator.
I get it, but he's done it like 4 times. It sounds like Brian was shaking his head. What do you?
Yeah, completely irrelevant. Like you either want my help or not. You're going to give me the time. You're not wasting my time. I've literally said that to sellers, and I will. Like I'm not. You're not wasting my time. I don't need you.
Yeah, it's just like ghosting. You know, a good lesson I learned from Chris was if they ghost you, ghost them back. Go wait 2 or 3 weeks. If they really want you or need you, they're going to come back to you. If you presented the option and so forth and the data, they're going to come back. And I had a couple of people do that. You know, I ghosted him for 2 weeks, and he called me back, and he had a legitimate reason. You know, he's got a business. He was right in the throes of doing new contracts, new taxes, and I totally forgot about it when he showed up out of the blue.
So let me give you a script, Paul and Brian. Please ad lib, but I would say we got to talk for a couple minutes. Super important. And when he talks, you say, look, I understand you're probably gonna be upside down if you try to sell this conventionally. I'm probably the only person on the planet that has a solution that cares about your situation and can fix it. But I need your undivided attention. So we need to book a time where you're not gonna hang up. And if he hangs up, then I'd be done. Anything to add, Paul, Brian?
Yeah, I would just say that, you know, I mean, I've been on the phone for a long time, but just in real estate for the last 3 years, probably the biggest thing that I've learned is you need to be fully transparent and get to the friggin' point as quickly as possible, because people appreciate that. Like, seriously. To give you an example, we're talking to Pete Seller yesterday. The guy originally said he wanted 130 grand on a down payment for his house to move to South Korea. I addressed that within the first 60 seconds of the call. I said, look, I just want to let you know we can't do that. Not even close. And guess what he said he needed to move? $30,000. $30,000 on an $850,000 house. So he went from 130 to 30,000. But I just told him at the beginning of the call, I said, like, I don't waste your time. Like, we just got to we can't do that. You want to keep talking? We can help you, but I can't do that. And he was totally fine. I'm just saying, like, treat all the calls that way. Just get to the point, be fully transparent.
I love it. Yep. And actually, when Brian said that, do you think the confidence came off to that guy? I can help you, but we can't do that. It's a confident. He's confident. So when I said, I'm the only one on the planet, Paul, I literally would say that word for word. They want to hear that you got the confidence to get this freaking thing done.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a good script, Nuggets.
Okay. Yeah. So that guy's probably, I think he's going to probably try to rent it, but I think the rental market here is pretty soft also. So it may take a little time for him to warm up.
Then let him sit.
Yeah.
But you have no urgency. All that time could be go get some more leads to Kyle's earlier point. We're just going to sift, right? Sift.